And let's keep talking defense, specifically the Atlanta Falcons defense. For you kind of feel like they've finally gotten it together. Where have you seen the most improvement on this team, and where do you think they can improve them from their 8-9 record last season?
Yeah, I think they improved the pass rush, which has been the biggest pain point for the Falcons since Vic Beasley had his big breakout season, which is why we say sacks don't matter as much. Like, sacks do matter, and they matter the most. Let me rephrase that. But they don't matter as much as people think they do, and it's not an indication of pass rush quality. Like Vic Beasley, when he not broke the sack record, but led the NFL in sacks in 2016, his pressure rate was abysmal. I think it was under 10%. Like his pass rush win rate was slightly above that. Like, he was not a good pass rusher. He just, when he won, he got sacks. Like, so since then, they haven't really had a quote unquote good pass rusher since he left. And over the past 3 years, they have allowed the fifth, and this is combined from 2022 to 2024, they have the fifth highest EPA per dropback allowed. And in terms of PFF, they've had a bottom 6 pass rush grade in each of the last 3 seasons, and they placed second twice, second worst. Like, this defense has not been good from a pass rush perspective. So this offseason was tailored towards adding pass rushers. And they bring in a veteran, Leonard Floyd, who has started almost everywhere he's played and has showed he's a decent pass rusher. He's not – you're not screaming, oh, Leonard Floyd's a top 10, top 20 edge rusher, but he provides some juice there, and he's a savvy veteran. Then they drafted James Pierce Jr. and Jalen Walker, which it looks like Jalen Walker is exclusively going to play edge. I think they could get a little bit more out of this defense if he played off-ball early downs and then moved to the edge on later downs. And let James Pierce work opposite him in pass rush situations, because I think both of them provide good pass rush juice in different ways. I just don't know if Jalen Walker can do it 3 downs or all 3 downs just because of his size and, some areas he was lacking in his college game. Like, he was a super fun college player and probably the best blitzing off-ball linebacker, but I don't know if that's going to translate to 500 pass rushes a season strictly off the edge. But again, we'll see. I'm just happy they added 3 guys who can help with that pass rush depth. Morgan Fox, a veteran DT, more of a run stopper, but still has some pass rush juice. And then Braylon Trice, he missed all of last year with an ACL tear. He led college football in 2023 in total pressures, like, out of Washington. Like, I wasn't the biggest fan of his process, but he won often. And play strength is going to be big for him, especially coming back from the ACL tear. But if he can be healthy, like, that's 4 edge rushers right there who are really, really solid and all have different skill sets, where James Pierce will play through your chest, and so will Braylon Trice. And Jalen Walker will beat you with speed and with a hand rip chop. And Leonard Floyd has a pretty decent package with inside counters, with spin moves, with swims, like, more that finesse guy. Like, they all have different skill sets. And as someone who's talked to offensive tackles, that is the worst thing to deal with, is not just going against one guy that's really good, going against 4 guys who are all good and have different skill sets. It's tough to prepare for it, and it's just a mental game where you have to work against each guy, and all of them are different. So your kick steps change, your strike pace changes, your hand placement changes. Like, it can really mess with an offensive tackle. And I think the Falcons evaluated their roster really well and said, yeah, we can get a lot better in this area. Let's go do it. And on paper, looks like they're going to.
Yeah, it's very – how unique would you say it is for a front office to, hyper-focus their offseason acquisitions on one – obviously not only one, but on one major area like the Falcons have done with their pass rush?
I think it's something that other front offices can learn from, because I think some front offices said, oh, we take one guy here, we're fine, like, we'll let them develop and we'll punt, more depth to next year. But sometimes with contracts, like 2 guys at the same position, their contract will be expiring the same season, and they'll both leave. And so now you have 2 holes that you have to fill, and that goes against your previous draft strategy. And I think we're seeing more teams across the league double dip at the same position. Like, I know this was a while ago and a completely, different example, but, the Washington, at the time, the Redskins, but now the Commanders, drafted RG3 in the first round and then got Kirk Cousins in 7th round. He might have been 6th round in that draft, but I think he was 7th. And obviously that was an awesome move for them and saved them a lot of, time and money not having to rebuild and find a new quarterback because they had it with Kirk in that draft. This year, the Browns took Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders. We've seen teams over the past couple of years double dip a receiver like the New England Patriots. I know neither of them panned out last year, but Jalen Polk and Javon Baker both were drafted in the same draft class, right? So you see teams where it works out for them and other teams where it doesn't. And I'm wondering if the Falcons were aware of that and said, why don't we double dip in the first round and get two high pedigree edge players, both with great athleticism, and let's see what we can make happen with them. And if not, we have two veterans in their place and a guy who didn't even play last year coming back who can give us some depth. So they really are 4 or 5 deep at the edge position. And I think it was really good process because it was their most glaring position and they double dipped in high pedigree areas for that.
Absolutely. And speaking of Kirk Cousins, he's currently listed second on the Falcons depth chart right now, behind Michael Penix Jr. There was maybe some talk of some quarterback competition, but it seems like Penix has, gotten the spot. And, he's continuing to grow in this league, and he's got a great receiver next to him in Drake London. So for you, what do you want to see out of that connection this year?
Well, I just want to see Michael Penix. He makes some really gutsy throws, and then he makes some throws that aren't even close, right? Like, and not that they get picked off because I think he only threw 1 interception last year, if I'm not mistaken. But let me see. He threw 3, but either way, 3 in 5 games. But in that starting run, I believe he only threw 1 at the end of the season. But I want to see him be more trusting of Drake London, which is what we saw, especially it progressed at the end of the season from week 16 to 17 to 18. The targets and receptions and yards went up for Drake London in each game. But in those 3 games starting together at the end of the season, and granted, 2 of the past defenses they won it against were some of the worst in the NFL. And then the other one was against the Commanders, who they still did pretty well against. But in those 3 games, Drake London commanded 37 targets, so over 12 per game. Brought in 22 receptions, over 7 per game. 352 yards, over 114 per game, or 115, more than that, 116. Maybe even more than that. My math's probably wrong. It's early. 4.05 yak per reception, which isn't that great, but here's the number that really stands out. 3.52 yards per route run. 3 is elite. Getting on the closer side to 4 than you are than 3 is really, really good. And he had 15 first downs. So he's moving the chains 5 times a game, which is great. And so over the course of a 17-game season, and I know, small sample size, we shouldn't do this, but I think it's a fun thought experiment to see what it could be from an efficiency standpoint. That's 210 targets, 125 receptions, 1,995 yards, 506 yards after the catch, and 85 first downs. My notes are wrong here, but that would break season records in targets and in yards. It wouldn't break the receptions, but it would absolutely break the yardage record. Someone getting close to 2,000 would be absolutely atomic and nuclear in this league, right? Especially because receiver yardage hasn't been what it was pre-2022, which, again, it's the 2 high shells, not so much that teams are running a lot more cover 2 and cover 4. It's just the fact they're starting in 2 high a lot more, so quarterbacks are not taking risk against it in the deep game. So I think if Michael Penix if the Falcons can leverage this run game with Bijan Robinson and force teams to play 1 high safety more often than, other teams that they would play, that's going to open up this connection a lot more between Penix and Drake London. And I think Bijan is one of the best shining young running backs in this league. And if there's any team that can force teams into 1 high safety, it's going to be the Falcons.
Yeah, and what does Bijan Robinson add to this? Like, how much can you kind of turn this offense into a Penix, Bijan, London, trifecta here?
Yeah, and I should correct myself. It's Bijan. I think he said, not Dijon, it's Bijan. But either way, that doesn't that's how you pronounce the name. It's whatever. But what I will say is that his snap share has increased, and it increased over the course of last season. Like throughout, like if you look at each quarter of the year, his snap share increased. He's got really good wiggle when he's in open space and between the tackles. He's got great burst and acceleration. His juke move is one of the best in the NFL. I mean, we saw that his rookie year. He juked out 3 Packers players with the same exact stutter juke. Like, he's got really good lateral movement, and he's got home run ability. And to go with it, his receiving ability is off the charts. So he is a do-it-all guy who's going to be the bell cow for them. Like, Tyler Algier will still get a good amount of carries, but Tyler Algier is also a good running back. He's probably one of the best spell running backs in the league outside of David Montgomery. Tyler had 1,000 yards rushing his rookie year behind one of the best offensive lines in the league, which makes sense why they drafted Bijan, because it was, well, if some 5th-round rookie can get 1,000 yards for us, let's see what a really good prospect can do for us in Bijan, right? So he brings another layer to this offense in terms of explosiveness, pushing the chains, pushing the envelope as a receiver, and just doing a really good job of keeping this offense moving. And I don't think the offense is going to flow through him as much as people project, but I think he will absolutely be one of the 2 main focal points, that being Drake London and Bijan.
Absolutely. And finally, we talk about the trifecta, but really at the core of it is Michael Penix. Can he be the next franchise quarterback for this team?
I absolutely think so. I was not as high on him as some other quarterbacks in last year's class, and he probably would have ranked similar to where I had Cam Ward in this year's class. But I think, which we'll get into the NFC or AFC South episode later, but if I think Cam Ward can be a franchise QB, absolutely Michael Penix can be one, because I think he's got similar passing mechanics. His arm is really live. He's got good pocket management and ability to process pressure. And that's what makes a good quarterback in the NFL. So I want to see him succeed. And also, it's just fun to see lefty quarterbacks do their thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. And let's get into probably Atlanta's biggest rival, New Orleans Saints.
Mm-hmm.
The Saints really struggled.
Do we go over the dark horse?
No, we did not go over the dark horse. Sorry.
Yeah, we definitely want to touch on that, because that's Brandon Dorless, another Oregon stud from last year's draft class that I really liked. He played, and this is going to be quick, but he played just 19 snaps in 2024 due to injuries. But at his time at Oregon, he was splitting reps at edge and defensive tackle. He moved more inside as his career went on, but he succeeded at both. And he's going to be competing with Rook Ohoroho. I messed up that name horribly. Rook Ohorohoro and Zach Harrison for reps alongside David Onyemata. And Onyemata's, he's 30. He might even be 31. He's on the older side. He's not going to be there much longer. So he's going to be competing for some good playing time early on. And we've seen him play in the preseason. He's done a decent job going against guards and working the edge on some other plays. He can play up and down the line, which I think is going to help with the versatility of this pass rush, which, again, it helps that you got all these edges. Brandon Dorless is another guy like Braylon Trice who barely played last year and should get reps in pass rush situations. In a really small reality, he might steal some edge reps. Like, let's say their linebacker depth proves to not be what it is and some guys get hurt. Maybe they move Jalen Walker to off-ball second half of the season on first and second down, and they put Brandon Dorless at the edge to really hold it down opposite whoever's going to be on the other side. Like, I think he just provides really good versatility, and I don't know if he'll be a great player or even a good player, but he will definitely be above average and a really good rotational depth piece on this team this year.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, just continuing to build that Falcons defense.